Form validation is of vital importance to a website security as well as usability. The validation process evaluates whether the input value is in the correct format before submitting it. But before we get into the lesson, here's something many professionals use to save time. With Envato Elements, you can get unlimited downloads of easy-to-use website templates, product mockups, UX and UI kits, graphic templates, and more. Envato Elements is an unlimited subscription-based service that gives you access to millions of creative digital assets. You can subscribe now with the link in the description. Hi, I'm Sergio Sala and welcome to Envato Tuts. In this tutorial, we're going to explore the pattern attribute, using it to help us customize the way we validate our forms. For example, if we have an input field for an email address, the value must certainly contain a valid email address. It should start with a letter or a number, followed by the @ symbol, and then end with a domain name. So let's say I want to write something that doesn't have the @ symbol. And if I do that, it will show me an invalid email address error message thanks to the HTML5 form validation. So now I'm going to start making a form so I can show you how to use the pattern attribute. So we're going to create the form and we're going to add some CSS so it can look nicer. So first of all, the pattern attribute is only applicable to the input element. It allows us to define our own rule to validate the input value using the regular expressions, commonly known as regx. If the value doesn't match the specific pattern, the input will throw an error. As there isn't a standard type for username, we're going to use the regular text type, and also we're going to name it username in the placeholder username. So in this case, we'll specify that the username should only consist on lowercase letters, no capital letters, numbers, or other special characters allowed. In addition, the username length shouldn't be more than 15 characters. So if I submit a text with a number, it will show the error message that says, please match the requested format. And even though the validation is working, this message doesn't help our users understand what the requested format actually is. So we're gonna fix that. So if we want to customize the message to be more helpful, we have a couple of ways to do so. The easiest approach is to specify a title attribute within our input element. So we're going to use this example. I'm going to add this title. Then we're going to add the description that they want to be seen. And if we try again, you're going to see that now, but still this pop-up message is inconsistent. So we can actually make it a little bit more clear. So we're going to add first an ID to the input element. We're going to name it username so we can recognize it. And now we can select the input element using JavaScript and assign it to the variable, which is username. So we're going to type the next code. We specify the message used when the input shows its invalid state. The uninvalid event inherits an event object which contains a few properties, including the target property and also the validation message, which contains the error text message. In the example above, we have overridden the text message using the setCustomValidity method. So now we can use our own text that, as we can see here, it will only show the one that we set up. So now we're going to create a custom pop-up which will appear when our input's value is invalid. To begin with, we need to select a couple of required elements, namely the input and the form elements. Next, we're going to create a new element which will contain our message. In order to do so, we created a new div element. We gave it an ID of notify and we set in the display to none. So we had to adjust the HTML in order to add the div here. And I will also add an ID of form in order to make more changes. Now there are two elements that we need to deal with. First, the invalid event, which calls when the value of the input does not match the pattern. Therefore, we need to create this code. Here with the prevent default, we prevent the default behavior so that the default browser pop-up message does not appear. Instead, we're going to show our own with this new div element. We add a text message within the content, add a new class, error, and also show the message by setting the display to block. We also add a class invalid to the input element, giving it a red border color. We also need to set the style rule in the CSS style sheet. Additionally, you may also add the animated shake classes from animated CSS. It will give it a certain flair by using a shake animation. The second event is the input event. This event calls when the input values change. We'll use this event to revert the input to its normal state. In this case, we're going to remove the class name and also hide the pop-up message. And as you can see now, if we test it out, you're going to see a new text message, the animation, And finally, a form that validates the content submitted in a clear way. And there you have it. Using the standard input types along the pattern attribute will give your forms an extra layer of validation. I'm Sergio Sala, and if you like this tutorial, don't forget to like and subscribe to Envato Tuts Plus if you're gonna get more HTML lessons. Ciao!